Any other MK want to share something? Doug? Oh, of course. As he's coming up, think you got another one?
You might know you're a third culture kid if you flew before you could walk.
Ken, you got another one?
You know you're a third culture kid when you speak two languages but can't spell either.
Carol.
You know you're a third culture kid when you lie when people ask you where you're from, just to avoid an explanation.
Mike.
You know you're a third culture kid when the best word for something is the word you learned first, regardless of the language.
Elizabeth, you got another one?
You know you're a third culture kid when you mail birthday cards 2 months before the
I realized as the MKs were talking that I did have a story, and I haven't formulated it yet, and I won't go too deeply into it. I'd like to actually write about it. It's a linguistic thing. About 15 years ago, so I would have been about 50, I think, I went to the University of California and took a Japanese language conversation class. Mostly business people were studying because they were going to be going to Japan or whatnot. My sister-in-law went with me, and it was a great pleasure to go back there. And as some of us were talking at dinner tonight, the MKs, I went with my mom to the Naganuma school once when she was chairman of the board there. And the director of the school, we chatted a bit about the same age, and he said, oh, MKs, they're the most difficult students we've ever had at the Naganuma school. And Mary got it exactly right, I think, because they think they know how to speak it already, and they don't. So I took this Japanese language course. As some of you know, I'm a psychiatrist, and as I began to study these constructions and whatnot, which I never had, I mean, maybe Yochia might count, but, you know, I'd never studied formal Japanese. Something that would be janai came out as dewa arimasen, you know, that kind of thing, and you would sort of study these equivalents and whatnot. I began to have memories that I had lost as I studied the language. And I began to have dreams of events that I had forgotten, or, well, say I've forgotten if you had never had the memory since you were 5 years old. I confirmed some of them with my parents. There were toys I had had, there were friends I had had. And I realized, you know, along with Foucault and others, that a part of our memory, at least, is linguistic. And one of the great things that we as MKs lost as we came to the States, I mean, that sort of traditional one of my generation was, you know, 15 years in Japan or whatever, and then America, and feeling dislocated and trying to make our way. And a part of it had to do with the loss of the language that we weren't fluent in by Naganuma standards, but we were capable of in terms of getting around the country and finding our way about. And another part of that, linguistic part of what we lost, was the humor that was often in that. Watching you two up here, David and Tommy, you know, doing it was such a hilarious thing, because one thing that we could do as kids, and I'm sure many of you could, we could imitate our parents' Japanese. And we could also imitate the Japanese students who were studying English and imitate their English. So we really had about 4 languages going. And we were only 3 or 4 years old at the time. I would go to the door and translate for my parents at the door. And they had had 2 years of study already, but, you know, the 4-year-old picks that up. So I'll finish with one, which was a bit of humor that no one in my college appreciated at all, which we had in Tokyo, which was Neba Hapun. Arute Chipun.
And of course, the other memories that we can connect all of this with is with music.